Greetings, adventurous, broad, fiery Sagittarius. My name is Eliane Nicole. I'm an astrologer and tarot card reader, and now I'm going to do the January 2021 forecast reading for the sign of Sagittarius. Happy New Year, Sagittarius. Congratulations on making it through 2020. What a feat. I am going to start with the tarot reading, and then in the second half of the video, I am going to talk about broad strokes of some of the planetary transits. I encourage you to follow me on Instagram at astrology.tarot.Eliane Nicole, where I continue the conversation that we start here and fill in more details as the transits unfold. I post daily transits in my stories about the moon's cycles and how that affects us. And then in my feed, I will do posts about the planetary ingresses and major aspects that happen. So follow me there. And in the meantime, and in between time, watch the videos here for your sun and rising sign. Both will be applicable. And to begin with, as we enter the month of January, Sagittarius, we see the 8 of Wands. This is a lot of action, a lot of activity. For some, this will mean literal travel, like a trip or a journey. For others, it just means that there are a lot of tasks on your to-do list. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of forward movement and progress. And you are covered by the Emperor. And the Emperor usually represents a man, and he is also, he can be a fiery man, an authority figure, a leader of some kind. Sometimes he represents a father, a coach, a husband, a landlord, a boss. You get the picture. Sometimes he can represent the establishment or the patriarchy in general. And he's crossed, it's all crossed by the Queen of Cups, who's a woman. And the woman is very intuitive and emotional. She may be in love. She may just be a creative woman. She has vision. She has compassion. And so it looks like there's a lot of energy between this male figure and this female figure. Or these masculine and feminine energies in the beginning of the month. And the basis is the 3 of Wands. And so the 3 of Wands is a card about success or achievement. And what is leaving is the 3 of Pentacles. So this is a work situation of some kind. What will come into being around mid-month is the 8 of Swords. So this looks like the possibility of being trapped in your head, lots of thoughts and ideas that might be making you feel constricted in some way. What will come into being mid-month is it looks like you come out of a period of deep reflection, meditation, time alone thinking, maybe retreating or reclusing, or maybe it's just sleeping a lot and in your dreams, but it looks like you come out of this period having turned around your old ideas about something in a way that I think is going to be freeing to you from that previous 8 of Swords vibe that we saw. So that's great. Going backwards and what may come into being, this meditation period is just what the doctor ordered. That follows with the 4 of Swords reversed. And that's happening around the 13th to the 15th of January for you. And that's around the new moon of Capricorn. It's quite an energetic time for the collective as well. So we're all probably going to be impacted greatly by collective events at that time of the month. Fears or insecurities, strength reversed. This is about not forcing things in a situation where maybe there's a very specific way you want it to work out right now. And others see you as the 9 of Wands reversed. So This could be that you were letting your guard down. It could also be that you were leaving your territory in some way, which could be moving, traveling, or exploring new territory in a more figurative sense, if it's not in a literal physical sense. And your positive feelings are the Five of Wands reversed. So it looks like towards the end of the month, you were diffusing a conflict of some kind. And then the outcome is the Sun. So by the end of the month, we see happiness, fulfillment, a higher state of consciousness, fun in the sun, being outdoors. For some, it could be an actual vacation, but it looks like joy and happiness at the end of January for Sagittarius. So that is the tarot overview portion of the reading. And now I'm going to talk about some of the planetary transits, and I'm going to try to move through them quickly in the interest of time. But again, please follow me on Instagram at astrology.tarot.Eliane Nicole, or call me, email me, or text me to schedule a reading directly, and we can get into detail about how this is specific to you. January 6th, Mars enters Taurus. When Mars enters Taurus for Sagittarius, it's moving from your house of creativity and children and fun and pleasures and all of those things to your house of health and fitness, and also your house of, this can be considered the house of service. It can be the house of employees and staff, or sometimes co-workers. Mars is actually in its joy in this house. So I expect that you will probably be very driven forward at this time. I think that there will be a lot on your to-do list, and you will be working really hard. You may be wanting to charge forward, however, in a quicker, more emphatic way than you're able to do. It's a time where there's going to have to be a lot of planning and slow, methodical thinking and patience required. January 8th, Mercury enters Aquarius. When Mercury enters Aquarius, this is a very brilliant Mercury. Mercury rules our intellect, our mind, how we think, how we speak, how we write, how we listen, how we learn. For you, this is in the third house of communication. So, this is a great time for you in terms of thinking and speaking and communicating. This is a time of brilliance, genius, inventiveness, thinking out the box, futuristic thinking, because remember, Pallas Athene already stepped in there December, where she'll be until March. So this is a really great time for planning and strategizing for the future for you, looking at the chessboard, seeing where all the players are, strategizing, thinking 2 steps ahead, coming up with new ideas, and being able to communicate those ideas in a way that really is very just like clear and I think a lot of ideas for the people, for progress, for around science for some, technology for some, because those are also very Aquarian areas. So yeah, it's a time of really great brilliance. And that third house for you is a really important house in general. The Great Conjunction started there for you in December, kicking off that new 20-year era in your life. And so while Jupiter and Saturn met there, enabling you to bring form and structure to your Jupiterian visions and ideals in that area of your life, Mercury and Pallas are, this is the time for the planning and the writing and the thinking and the communicating about it, the brainstorming, because Jupiter, will be running through there all year, really giving expansion to this area of your life. And then Saturn will be there for the next 2.5 years, giving you the opportunity to really bring form and structure around this area of your life. So it's an exciting time in the third house. And again, the third house, it's mainly known as the house of communications. And that can be any kind of communications. Like, you know, it rules things like podcasts and media and newspapers and blogs. But it also rules, you know, just our conversations, you know, on the phone, via text, on our emails, you know, and but it also is our neighborhood, our neighbors, and it can also be our siblings, and you know, and it can also be short trips and journeys as well. So the third house has a lot of different levels, and so, you know, during this 20-year era, it will probably touch upon all of those levels at different times. So it's a really great time to get to know your third house and all its different iterations. And January 8th, Venus enters Capricorn. When Venus enters Capricorn, it's entering your second house of values and self-esteem, also the house of money and resources. While Venus is in Capricorn over the rest of the month, you will find yourself spending money on Venusian pleasures. You may be buying art. You may be spending money on beauty or decor or jewelry, like Venus type of things, like adornment type of things, or beautifying yourself or your environment even. So yeah, that's Venus in Capricorn. You may be taking those kinds of things very seriously during this time in a very Capricorn way. And January 12th is the new moon in Capricorn, also in your second house. New moons are incredibly rich and fertile cosmic soil to plant the seeds of intention that we want to manifest. The Capricorn new moon, Capricorn rules money and business. If you watched my December 2020 forecast, I told you how that's a great time to write your business plan, write your budget plan, your action plan for the new year. And although Mercury enters Aquarius on January 8th, this new moon of Capricorn is the time to do the magic around the business plan that we already wrote, hopefully, and worked on during Mercury in Capricorn. And so, you know, for the new moon, we burn our candles, we bring our flowers, we put all the elements on our altar, you know, we bring in photos of the ancestors, and we do a ritual. And that is in the second house for you. Money, resources, values, self-esteem, and then of course Capricorn, business, money, ambitions. And then also Capricorn rules the father, so if you have any intentions with your father, great time to set those intentions, January 12th as well. January 14th, Uranus goes direct and this is going to be in your house of health and fitness. This is also the house of staff and employees, where that's applicable for people. It's the house of coworkers, where that's applicable for people. And it's the house of service, where you are of service in the world, if that's applicable for people. So, and for some people, it will be just one of those areas that it manifests, and for some, there might be all of them, and for some, it may be some combination thereof. But Uranus shakes things up, you know, it brings a plot twist, it can bring surprises, it can bring disruption, it can bring the unexpected, and it's squaring off with everything that's happening in your third house of Aquarius. So this is communications, you know, also possibly neighbors, possibly siblings, you know, possibly short trips, you know, all the different third house things can come into play. Also, the third house can be school. Like if you have children that are in school, it represents, or if you are a child that's in school, although this video isn't exactly for children, a kid could be watching. If you're in elementary or high school, it could have to do with your school. Anyway, but yeah, so that is an interesting time of the month for all of us, for the collective, and for all of us in our personal lives. January 15th, the Mercury pre-shadow area begins. So Mercury goes retrograde 3 times this year. This is the first one in Aquarius. And Aquarius rules technology, the future, progress, kind of like all of these things. When the Mercury pre-shadow, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to talk more about Mercury retrograde at the end. What I want to say is if you have any important contracts to sign, if you have any surgeries to schedule in January, if you have any important conversations to have, important emails to send, important documents to sign, do it in the first 2 weeks of January before Mercury is in pre-shadow. Once Mercury is in pre-shadow, we are going to start seeing bubble ups and foreshadowing of the themes that will be happening in a more major way in the first 3 weeks of February that I don't want to get into talking about now. I'll talk about in my February forecasts that I put out later in January. But definitely, if you can, ride those cosmic waves around Mercury and don't put yourself in an uphill battle situation. January 17th, Jupiter squares Uranus. That is bringing together your 6th house and the 3rd house. Jupiter square Uranus, it brings sudden liberation, unexpected sudden expansion of horizons, iconic cultural moments, breaking of records. Watch my full year overview. If you didn't, I did a full year 2021 overview. It's all the signs in one video. I go into comprehensive detail about this Jupiter square Uranus aspect and what it has meant in history. It's a really fascinating, exciting aspect. And although it hits exact in January, it does color the entire year. It's very exciting in science and the arts, and I do think it kicks off the beginning of a renaissance that will be more in effect in 2022, but this is going to be I think we're going to get some bubble ups of it in 2021 amidst some of the difficulties that we're still dealing with that are in the wake of 2020. And Jupiter square Uranus is going to give us some clues about what that's going to be. Now, another thing, Vesta goes retrograde at 12:57 a.m. I don't know why I just said that. That doesn't matter. Vesta's just an asteroid, not a planet. But it is an invitation for you, dear Sagittarius, because Vesta is in your house of career and attainment. And she moved in there in late November. And if you watch the November 2020 forecast videos, I tell you more about that. But this is an invitation about what are you devoted to in your career, in your attainment. What's sacred to you? What keeps your inner flame on? Explore this, cultivate this. January 19th, the sun enters Aquarius. Again, this is in your 3rd house. I've listed off all the things that the 3rd house means in this video, so I won't repeat it. But during this month, you were really highlighting, you were really digging in, you were really laying down the foundation for these, this new 20-year era that is marked by the Great Conjunction starting there at the winter solstice. January 26th is a really interesting aspect. It's been building since October. It hits exact January 26th. It's Neptune square the nodes. This is a very karmic aspect. It has to do with the unseen. There is a karmic turning point unfolding in your life. For Neptunian types, Neptunian types can be, healers and artists and addicts. But you may know, you may have a sense of what this is, but for people who aren't so much connected with how that unseen realm operates and works, it may be operating on a more unseen cosmic level, but it is bringing together your house of home with your house of self and your house of relationships. A big turning point is happening there. January 28th is the full moon of Leo. It's in your 9th house of God, higher truth. And it will bring illumination to this area of your life: spirituality, religion, philosophy, exploration, university level education where that's applicable, broadcasting and publishing where that's applicable. It's a passionate full moon. It's a dramatic full moon, and it's a full moon that opposes everything in your 3rd house of communications. So it will bring this full moon brings tension and a lot of learning. And then January 30th, Mercury goes retrograde, and that's going to be in the first 3 weeks of February. I really expect technology to go haywire with this Mercury retrograde. This Mercury retrograde also brings the possibility of mental breakdowns for those who are on the edge with that. And so, those are two, I think, and it's also social systems, breakdowns of social systems will be happening, so technology, and then things around space as well, and space travel. So it's going to be an interesting retrograde and breakdowns in progress. And I think we may see some very rebellious communication during this time, very disruptive communication. So it's going to be an interesting time. 2021 has a different flavor than 2020. The disease isn't spreading anymore, but we're dealing with the aftermath. And I talk in detail I give a bird's eye view in my 2021 overview about what some of the significant distinct aspects are for the year. So I encourage you to watch that. I'm done with this video. Please give me a like if you liked it. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Follow me on Instagram at astrology.tarot.Eliane Nicole. Please share this with other Sagittarii that you know. And thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful January, Sagittarius.